you're here, yeah, I have a few questions from yesterday's live. I was trying to tell you why you should not buy a new car. Yeah, it seems crazy, right? Like, why would you tell me not to buy a new car? I thought you'd be telling me don't buy a used car. Yeah, so I want us to talk about we keep coming on. Yeah, why the Toyota is the only car worth buying in Uganda. Yeah, so I hope you know that it's not by accident that the Toyota is abundant on Ugandan streets. Some of these things don't happen by accident, that everywhere you drive, people are driving Toyotas. Well, everywhere you move, people are driving Toyotas. It's not an accident. Some of these things, yeah, they did not happen because some higher power wants people to only drive Toyotas. No. These things happen because of reasons. So the reason why Toyota is the only car worth buying, I talked yesterday about the loss of value, how each day you drive your car on the road, it might be losing value. And I talked about how the Mercedes-Benz loses much more value than the Toyota, even when the Toyota can still be losing value. It's very important for you to note that I don't discourage you from buying Mercedes-Benz if you want it. God, I love Mercedes-Benz. I love me a C-Class. Like, every time I look at a C-Class, my heart skips a beat. You know how you look at, for us men, you look at a woman and say, wow, she's hot. But when I look at a Mercedes-Benz, the C-Class, for me, normally it doesn't really matter how old it is. I look at it and I say, yeah, that's how much I love a Mercedes-Benz. But I don't want to buy a Mercedes-Benz now because it's not a wise decision. So it's not a wise decision for me nor for you currently, because Mercedes-Benz loses value faster than Toyota. Mazda. Someone asked me what my thoughts are about the Mazda Demio. The Mazda Demio is a small car. You can classify it together with a Toyota Vitz. You can also classify it together with Toyota Vitz, Passo. You can say Sienta, Raum, Spacio. You can classify it together with basically all cars that are 1.5cc and below. Yeah, that's where the Mazda Demio goes. But in terms of value, the Mazda Demio is way too low. So if you went to the bond and bought the Mazda Demio, you'd actually be losing money. Yes, you have a car, you drive it on the road, but you'll be losing value. One of my followers here is intending to buy a car, and when someone sent her pictures of a Mazda Demio, and it was the number plate, it was a UAU, yeah, and they were telling her that the Mazda Demio at UAU is being sold at 7 million, I think, yeah. You can never find a Raum, even in the older models, UAU at 7 million. No. It's a little higher. If it's sold at 7 million, then there's something totally wrong with it. So Toyotas have that much value, and if it's a Spacio old model at UAU, that's probably like 12 million. Yeah, if it's less than that, then there's something totally wrong with it. So Mazda Demio, it's not a bad car. If you buy it and you're the first person to drive it in Uganda, you will enjoy it because it will not break down. Anything that is new doesn't really just break down. If something new breaks down, then you have done something wrong to it, or you have not maintained it the way you're supposed to maintain it. So You need to know that anything that is new, anything that has been bought new, and in that terms, when we're talking about cars, and we want to mean new, we're actually talking about cars from the bond most of the times. So it's important to note that even the worst cars imaginable. I mean, walk into garages and you'll notice that majority of the cars there are Mitsubishi. Okay? But there are people that have driven a Mitsubishi for 20 years and they have no problem. They'll definitely walk into a bond and buy a Mitsubishi because their previous Mitsubishi was good, but the new Mitsubishi they buy breaks down in a month or two. So walk into garages, especially if you walk into garages that are specialized on motor vehicle electronics or wiring. You'll find that a lot of Mitsubishi are there. Ford, Mitsubishi. There are a lot of Mazdas still. It could do without people that the mechanics don't know how to work on them, but still you can't blame the mechanics that don't know the cars if the cars are not there. So there are types of cars that you'll always find in the Nissans. Nissans are also, if you go to a bond and you buy a Nissan, you're definitely losing money because you'll find a Nissan Cube, for example, the same year with the Toyota Rawum, the same number plate with the Toyota Rawum. Now, someone is going to say in the comments probably, when you are buying cars, don't talk about number plates. Yes, you have to know that the number plate is actually very important on the value of a car in Kampala or in Uganda, because if the number plate is old, the car is definitely old. If the number plate is new, the car is new, and that's how it stands. This is not about me. This is how the market works. Okay, I mean, if a chick knows how to dress up, she might as well be beautiful because she has dressed up in a way that makes her appear beautiful. So that's how it is. So when we talk about number plates, you find a Nissan, a small Nissan like Cube, the same number plate with the Toyota Rawum or Toyota Spacio, but the Nissan is 5 million and the Toyota Spacio is at 13 million. How does this happen? That's simply because the Toyota is the only car worth buying. Because drive a Toyota to Masaka, let your car break down, and you'll find someone to actually fix it, and you'll move away. You'll drive your car back home. Drive a Toyota to Lira. If it breaks down in Lira, trust me, you'll find someone to help you fix your car, and you'll drive back home. But drive a Kia to Lira, let it break down in Lira, you may be forced to actually hire a breakdown or a car carrier to bring your Kia back to Kampala. Or it's always a better option, because you might say it has broken down, let me call my mechanic to come to Lira. He comes to Lira, he actually comes back, has to come back to Kampala, buy more spares, come to Lira, try to fix the spares there. Then it shows, okay, there is another thing that's broken down, so I have to go back to Kampala and then bring more spares. So in the end, hiring a car carrier is cheaper if a Kia breaks down in Lira. So it doesn't mean that the Kia is a bad car. No, all those car brands are good. The Kia is good. It's very comfortable, especially if you buy it when it's new. Like most of the people that I've seen drive Kias are driving new, what we call Kavera, 0 mileage. But a Kia has a lot of disadvantages. That's why you'll find that it's very hard to find people that want to buy a Kia. And if you buy a Kia when it's used in Uganda, you're definitely making a very big mistake. Now, Toyotas are not the most comfortable cars. No, trust me. I love me a Mercedes-Benz, because you sit in a Mercedes-Benz and you feel like you are seated in a car, what they call a car. There was a time I drove a Golf for like 6 months, and the Golf was sturdy on the road. It was really heavy on the road, and my wife liked the Golf because it felt like it was a real car. It felt like, I think it felt manly. It has when you drive it on the road, you feel like it has gripped the road. There is a way German cars feel like they have gripped the road, they are heavy on the road. That's why it's very hard for you to find a German car that has rolled. Yet we find a lot of Toyotas that have rolled on the road, okay, because they're very heavy on the road. So I love me a German car, but the Toyota, now, one, they lose value. Two, very few people know how to fix all those other types of cars. Like if you bought a Benz, I live 35 kilometers from town, from Kampala CBD. A friend of mine fixes Mercedes Benzes, and He's very good. He has been working on Mercedes-Benz since he was 16. Like when we were in O-level S4, when we came from O-level, he didn't go forward. He just went to his dad's garage, and the dad was fixing Mercedes-Benz. He was a Benz mechanic, and just like that, my friend started fixing Mercedes-Benz, and he's really, really good. But if I want him to fix my car and it has broken down from home, he has to travel 35 kilometers to come and fix it. And majority of the time, when cars like that break down, they don't just break down for you to fix it at home. It will break down, they'll fix it, you will drive it, it breaks down on the way, and then they have to just come and take it to the garage so that they actually diagnose the real problem. Because normally when people fix on the road or from your home, they are fixing the symptoms. They're not really fixing the problem. You know what they call fixing the symptom? That when let's say you have a headache, when you take a painkiller, you're actually just working on the symptom of a problem that you have, because headaches are not really a sickness. Headaches are, when you get a headache, your body is trying to tell you there's something wrong with you. Okay, so when you take painkillers, you're simply just treating the symptom. So when a mechanic comes on the road and they fix your car for you to go home, they are simply making it possible for you to get home so that you go to the garage later and they fix the real problem, if they know how to find the real problem. So Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, and I've not really driven a Ford, but I've heard that a Ford is also steady on the road. But I know that a Volvo is very steady on the road. I know that Audi is very steady on the road. So we have Mercedes-Benz, Golf, Audi, and Volvo. And apparently, according to crash tests that I've been exposed to, the Volvo is the safest car there is. So if you're the kind of person that is, BMW is also very steady on the road. It's very, very good. So if you're looking for a car that has safety, according to what the information I've been exposed to, the Volvo is the safest car to drive. If you get involved in a crash, you'll be safer in a Volvo than you were in a Mercedes-Benz. And you'll be much safer in a Volvo than in a Toyota. So let's just face it, if you're driving a Toyota, be very careful. Our Toyotas, especially the newer models, 2000 and above, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, and until 2020, it's like these guys are making perishable cars. I mean, a border can put off your bumper by just, you know, those things that you stop on when you get seated on a border at the back. If that thing hooks into a bumper of a Wish, it will go with the bumper. I mean, it's like Japanese car makers are making cars, perishable cars, so that it perishes very quickly and you go back and buy another car. So Japanese cars are not the safest, they're not luxurious. Yes, when it's new, it's very comfortable. Have you seated in a Mark X that is new? My God, you just want to keep driving that thing. But the moment it gets old, it's the steel. Do they even make their cars of steel anymore? I have no idea. That material that looks like steel, I think it's synthetic steel. when you drive the Japanese car, the Toyota, on the road for like a year, that's how it is. I mean, if you drive it every day. I don't want someone that drives their car once a week to compare themselves to a person like me who drives my car every day. I drive 80 kilometers a day. So I tell you that if you drive a Japanese car, Toyota, focusing mostly on Toyota, on a Toyota on the road for a year, by the time the year is done, you hit the pothole and you hear every. That's just how they were made. But the Mercedes-Benz, you can drive it for 10 years and you'll hit potholes, you'll hit humps, and you'll not feel a sound. So we said other car types other than, try to sell a BMW and you will know. You see how rich people have Mercedes-Benz in their compounds, and you find a Mercedes-Benz rotting from the compound. That car is not rotting because the owner wants it to rot. He tried to sell it and people were buying it too cheaply. He decided that if you're buying too cheaply, let it rot. That's where the saying came from, Omugaga Avunza. You've heard of that, Omugaga Avunza, like a rich man is rotting something. So he decides that you guys are buying way less than what I bought, than what I've invested in my car. So I'll rather leave it there to rot than to sell it at a very cheap price. But that normally happens because Mercedes-Benz is too cheap for buyers. Okay, it's too cheap on the market once you want to sell. find a C class, a C180, what we call eyes, those with four eyes at the front. Very sexy car. My God, I love Mercedes Benz. It's a very sexy car. And you'll find a UBA at around 9 to 10 million. Now, that doesn't make it a bad car. Doesn't mean the engine is bad. Doesn't mean the gearbox is bad. Although the Mercedes Benzes normally have a lot of gearbox problems. So find Mercedes Benz parked somewhere, not moving anymore. And half of the time, it will be the gearbox that had a problem. So Mercedes Benz, Volkswagen, and BMW, at least from experience, they have a lot of gearbox problems, especially the automatic ones. The manual ones, I don't even know if a manual gearbox breaks down. Because if a manual gearbox breaks down, they open it up, take out the wrong gear, put back another one, and the gear and it's very cheap to repair. But a Mercedes-Benz gearbox repair costs between 1.5 and above. I have no idea how far it can go. But fixing a manual gearbox, that's for automatic, but a manual gearbox, you can fix it for 200, 300. It's that cheap. So it's those types, other types. I'll tell you that other types of cars. Now the gearboxes don't break down simply because they were made bad. All the Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Volkswagen, Mazda, and all those cars, the gearboxes break down because we have no idea what the best transmission fluid is for those gearboxes. So you find that someone buys a Mercedes-Benz and they drive it for a few months and they decide that, oh, I think I should change the transmission oil or the hydraulic oil, and they go to Shell. Now the Shell guys, they are there to make money. You tell them, they'll take out your good hydraulic that is meant for the Mercedes-Benz gearbox, and they'll put their normal hydraulic. Now that's where the gearboxes for all those types of cars start failing. Now the Toyotas, majority of Toyota drivers never really service their gearboxes or the transmission systems. They really never. I mean, there are times I drove a car for 2 years and I sold it without ever checking if the gearbox was okay. These days I'm very cautious, but then I would not. So one, any car that is not a Toyota loses value so fast. Two, very few mechanics know how to fix them. Three, they have a lot of gearbox problems, and it's too expensive to fix them. And four, if you break down up country, chances are that you have to hire a car carrier to bring your car to Kampala to be fixed, because the spares might not be available up country where your car breaks down from. Now imagine driving a Kia to Kabong, and you drive a Kia there and the Kia breaks down, and let's say it doesn't start anymore. What are the chances that you can get a mechanic that can actually fire up that Kia again? Very slim. And now then you imagine getting a mechanic to come to Kabong and they have no idea how to start, or they get to Kabong and then there's a spare that they didn't have, so they have to come back to Kampala and then come back to Kabong. And if chances are, I'm not saying they are there, but it might happen that they come back to Kampala, bring the spare, and then the spare is not still working, so they have to come back to Kampala again. So it's always wiser to just put the car on a car carrier. If it's a rare type, put it on a car carrier, and then it comes to Kampala where it can be fixed properly. So you also want to keep driving a Toyota, because Toyotas are many. Oh, Herbert, thank you. Which particular Mitsubishi? Because we have the GDIs. So Herbert is saying, talk about the Mitsubishi. Yeah, Mitsubishi. If you intend to buy a Mitsubishi, I would really recommend that you buy it in the big cars. That's why you see that majority of the pickups, the lorries, many of them are Mitsubishi. It has to do something with still people knowing how to fix them and the spares being available. Okay, and the Mitsubishi, the lorries, the spare is almost everywhere, and they rarely break down, by the way. Diesel trucks rarely break down. Also the L200 is very good. The Outlander the Outlander is a I want to tell you that people are buying it right now, and the reason they are buying it, it's an alternative. Okay, it's as comfortable as a Harrier Kawundo. Okay, it's as comfortable as the Hilux. Okay, it's as comfortable as those SUVs that Toyota makes. It's as comfortable as the Mercedes-Benz. Of course, the person that drives the Mercedes-Benz will tell you it's more comfortable. Of course, it's more comfortable because they're more steady on the road. But it's way cheaper to buy. It's much more cheaper to buy the Outlander than the Hilux, okay, than the Kawundo. But if it's cheaper to buy, it's definitely cheaper to sell. Now, majority of the Outlanders on the road are new. They are fairly new. So people have not driven them for a very long time. To a time like let me make it to you like you can find a Toyota Hilux or a Toyota Surf on UAB. Okay, you can find a Toyota Hilux that has been driven on the road for more than 25 years. Okay, but I've not seen an Outlander that has been driven on the road for more than 25 years. Okay, so Outlanders are fairly new, so their problems have not yet been really discovered. Most of them are electronic, and with electronic cars, it's normally the electronics fail when water starts going into the wires, or when the wires get old and they start and then positive starts getting connected to negative. That's when the electronics of the cars happens. But because these cars are fairly new, they don't have electronic problems. Majority of Mitsubishi that break down, the Mitsubishi GDIs, or even the bigger ones, the majority of those cars that break down, they don't really break down engine wise. Majority of the time, it's normally what breaks down is mostly the electronics, and the electronics are very hard for just anyone to figure out. So that's why you find that Mitsubishis are in the garages, and the Mitsubishi that are in the garage are the types that are known by almost everyone, the types that we see a lot on the road, okay, which are the smaller cars, because when people buy cars, they normally want to buy a car that is very easy to maintain, that is good on the fuel, and normally it's not the big cars. So the big Mitsubishis, if you service the Outlander properly, it will never break down. Just give it service in time. It's just like any diesel car, okay? All diesel cars will break down if you don't service them, and their service the service times are very specific. So you have to make sure that you service the Outlander on time. It's high, so I don't think you're going to get any problems to do with the cranks has been hit by a stone and all. Also, the most people that drive the Outlanders don't drive them every day. Outlanders are not an everyday car. Why? Majority of the people that have Outlanders, they also have other cars. Okay, so today that person will drive an Outlander, and then tomorrow they'll drive a Harrier, and then the other day they'll drive a Premio. So that is why it's very rare for you to find an Outlander broken down. Okay, so if you see when people say that Outlanders don't break down, I think they are saying whatever they are saying out of I would say sheer ignorance. We don't really know a lot about the Outlanders, so because they're not an everyday drive car for most people that actually have them. People don't drive them every day the way they drive a Primo or a Espacio, or the way I drive my Corolla every day. And it's very rare to find people that drive the Outlander and they live in places with bad roads like because I drive about 15 kilometers of Maram, and not good Maram that has a lot of potholes. So the people that have the Outlanders are normally in places like Kololo, Najera. They're in places like Ntinda. So that kind of car, someone will tell you it's very easy to maintain because, well, they have nothing to fix. They don't hit potholes. They don't go through water, a lot of water. Okay, so if you're intending to buy a huge SUV, or because it's an SUV like the Surf, it's not really a pickup like the Hilux. It's an SUV like the Kawundo, although we want to imagine that it's stronger than the Kawundo, which might or might not be true, because the Kawundo is an everyday. People that buy Kawundo want to drive it every day, which is opposed to people that buy the Outlander. I know a relative that used to drive his Noah every day, but when he bought a pickup truck, he bought it specifically to go with it to the farm, and it's not really comfortable to drive every day, so he doesn't really drive it every day. So he intends to buy a smaller car to drive every day. I think that's the same thing that happens with Outlander owners. So if you intend to buy an Outlander, you'd want to be specific about what you want to use the car for. If you want to buy an everyday drive car, I would recommend that you buy a petrol car, okay, like Kawundo. Yeah, that's a truck that just passed me. Yeah, you buy a petrol car like the Kawundo, because you will find that you can get them within the price range, especially if you want to buy one that has been driven on Ugandan roads. The Mazda Demio, I talked about it earlier. If you didn't see, let me just Brick, you have how about, I hope I've answered you. If I've not answered, you can ask another question. But Brick, let me go back to you. Mazda Demio, it's a good car, and I'll tell you that no car is actually bad. If you think about it, no car is bad. Why am I saying no car is bad? Because as long as it's on the road and it's taking you places you want to go, every car is nice. Okay, the problem comes when it starts breaking down, because when it starts breaking down, repairing various cars is as cheap or as expensive as the car type goes, and some cars are unrepairable. That's why you find certain types of cars stuck in the garage and other types not stuck in the garage but on the road all the time. Okay, so Mazda Demio, it will drive you for some time. It will drive you for a long time, but you need to make sure that you have a lot of money. Why? Because the spare for Mazda, the spares are not everywhere. Okay, even the mechanics that fix the Mazdas are not everywhere. Okay, so I don't know, unless you have a specific reason why you want the Mazda. You know, like the people that drive Mercedes-Benz, they drive Mercedes-Benz because it makes them feel good. It's for the prestige of it. The people that drive Mark X, they drive because they want to feel like I'm driving a Mark X. It's not just any Toyota. Okay, the people that drive Subarus, they're passionate about their Subarus. So unless there is a real reason why you want to actually drive a Mazda, I wouldn't recommend it for you. Okay, because it's rare to find someone that has made a lot of money that wants to buy a Mazda. Normally, the only reason people want to buy Mazdas is because it's cheaper than an alternative, either in Toyota or Mercedes-Benz or something. So Mazda is always cheaper to buy. So if it's only the price issue, you can buy the Mazda, but it might turn out to be expensive for you, Brick. So I wouldn't really recommend that you buy a Mazda. There are alternatives to the Mazda Demio. There are really a lot of alternatives, many alternatives. But I'll recommend that you stick to Toyota though. In the Ugandan market, trust me, a mechanic can tell you all they want, or a broker can tell you all they want, that the Mazda is the same as the Special or the same as the Vitz. It's not the same. Now, Brick, I don't know what age bracket you're in, but in my age bracket, normally, when we are buying cars, it's we want to think the car is an asset. For me, my cars are assets. How? When I buy a car, I want to be able to get money when I need money. What do I mean? If I buy a car at 10 million, if I want to sell like today or this week, I want to be able to sell not less than 9 million. Okay? If I buy a car at 15, I want to be able to not sell less than 14. Okay? Now, that cannot happen when you buy a Mazda, the Demio that you're talking about. If you buy a Demio today at 10 million and you want to sell next week, remember you bought at 10, next week you're going to be selling at 5. That's a fact. If you find someone willing to buy your car at 8 or 9 million, they have no idea what they are buying. You should get the money, grab the money as fast as you can. Okay, the Mazda, the biggest problem with Mazda is the spares. Okay, then the second big problem is that mechanics have no idea how Mazdas work. You know, it's sort of like health. In Uganda we have a lot of malaria, but if you got malaria when you are in the USA, you may die because they don't have malaria there. You know what this means? This means that they don't have medicine for malaria. Okay, so they will not, the doctors don't even know how to work on a patient that has malaria, and that's just facts. It's the same thing. The Mazda, in countries where Mazdas are driven a lot, those mechanics know how to fix them, and take a Toyota to them and they will be blank. Okay, but here in Kampala and Uganda, the Mazda is not a very good choice for you, if especially you're a youth like me and you're still not very rich. Okay, because rich folk, they'll buy a Mazda Demio, it breaks down, no one can fix it, they leave it in the compound until someone will be able to fix it. Okay, but for you, you cannot actually just park a car. This means that it means that if it breaks down and no one can fix it, someone is going to come and buy it from you at 1 million or 800,000, and you don't want that. Okay, so I'd recommend that you stick with Toyotas. The Vitz now, the Vitz is actually fairly cheap. I bought my Vitz, the Vitz I used to drive, I bought it in 2018, and I bought it at 10 million. I drove it for 2 years, for 1.5 years, I would say. Made it pretty old, not so old, but pretty old. And I even used to drive Uber part-time then, so I even drove it for Uber, so it made some money for me. And after driving it for almost 2 years, I sold it at about 9 million, minus brokers. I didn't pay any broker, because when the person looked at the car, they really wanted it. So the Vitz now, a Vitz that I would have bought 10 million in 2018, right now is about 8. Why is the Vitz cheaper? It's because there are Toyota alternatives to the Vitz, okay, that are in the price, like the Sienta, the Passo, okay, and even the Raum has the prices have gone down. So it's rare to find that someone to buy a Vitz if they can actually get a Sienta. So you can't sell me a Vitz at 13 million when I can get a Sienta at the same price in a better number plate. Okay, it even takes 7 people. Okay, yeah. So Brick, I hope I've answered your question. You have also asked, is the Passo good for long distance? Trust me, let no one lie to you that there is a car that is not good for long distance. Even the Demio that we have just talked about is good for long distance. Okay, what happens when you go to the long distance is a different thing. Now with the Passo, there are 2 versions though, I hope you know. There is a 1.3 version, 1.3 cc, and then there is a 1000 cc. They are both good cars, trust me. The 1.3 cc is a very small engine, carrying the same body like the 1.3, okay? The 1.0 cc small engine, same body as the one that has a 1.3. It means the Passo with the 1.3 cc engine moves smoother. The engine uses less energy. It means it might use less fuel, okay? And the 1.0 cc engine uses more energy to carry the body or pull it. It means it might actually use more fuel than the 1.3 or the same amount. So when they tell you that a car that has 1.0 cc capacity engine uses less fuel, they might actually be lying to you. It uses less fuel if you're only one person seated in there or 2. The moment it goes beyond 2 people, the 1.0 cc might actually use more fuel because it uses more energy to pull people. But it can go up country. People have driven Passos all the way to Nakapirpirt and they came back safely. Okay? All cars are like human beings. You need to eat to be okay. Okay? Now, one of the things that makes these cars break down. Now, the 1.0 cc engine is a very small engine. Now, if you keep feeding this engine bad fuels, I'm not going to mention brands of petrol stations that I know are bad, but right now, I want you to imagine this scenario. Shell and Total are selling fuel at 6,600, and there's like a petrol station somewhere that is telling you it can give you fuel at 5,900. Where are they getting the fuel from? Like, in all honesty, Shell which is the bigger brand, it would actually sell to us fuel cheaper because, well, they have economies of scale. So Shell is selling to me fuel at 6,600. And some car petrol station named Arthur somewhere is saying they are selling petrol at 5,900 or 5,000. If that is not killing your engine, what is it? So it is very good for you to make sure that you buy fuel from trusted petrol station, from the big brands. These brands have something to lose. That's why they make sure that they have good quality fuels. They actually carry out research to make sure, okay, because Shell was the first to bring unleaded fuel, either Shell or Total, okay? Because the lead is not good for the engines. So they put lead out of the fuel and it improves the fuel. Then I think Total has some, their kind of fuel, they call it excelinium. I want to imagine that when they name this fuel, they are not just naming, that it's actually excelinium, that it's actually excellent as they say, okay? Okay, I was headed to the gym and I thought I carried my water. I didn't carry my water. That's a very bad place to be. So anyway, the Paso is good for long distances, but if you're buying a Paso, it's always, if you're buying a small car, it's always good to buy the one with the bigger engine, okay? If it has a variation of 1.3, 1.0, 1.5, you can buy the 1.5. Why? They all have the same bodies, they all carry the same number of people, but the one with the bigger engine will carry a maximum load of passengers at very small, with little effort, okay? So always buy the bigger engine when you're buying the cars with the small cars. So if you're buying a Vitz right now, there is a 1.5cc version in the Vitz, the new version Vitz 2010 and above. So I would recommend that if you're buying a Vitz, you buy 1.5cc version. It's much better. So let me just see the other question I had here. Someone is asking that I talked about Sienta. What is the best transmission fluid to use when servicing? Now that, well, I'm still studying the types that were recommended to me, and when I come up with the final type, I'm actually going to say it here when I come up with that. So, but currently, don't change your transmission fluid if you can, because I don't think you are in a hurry to change that. Okay, so please don't change. You might kill your gearbox for nothing. So Caroline asked about the old is the old model Spacio good to buy if you cannot afford the latest model? Yes, it is, Caroline. The old model of the Spacio is very good. Let me tell you, the only difference with these cars is the engine and the body shape and the interior. They are basically the same car. However, if you can afford the old version of the Toyota Spacio, you can afford the new version. Okay? Why am I saying this? The old Spacio at UAU is about 13 million. At UAW, UAX, you'll get it at between 13 and 15. Between 13 and 15 million, you can still get a new model Spacio. You just have to be careful how you buy it. You have to check it maximally. Like I said yesterday, I'm very helpful to people when trying to choose cars. If you want to buy a car and you probably don't have anyone to trust, I can guarantee you will select the best car with you together, me and you. I have a checklist that I follow when I'm helping people buy cars. And when we go to the car, it looks like we have what they call the by the way, or by the way from Makerere University. Like if you go to Makerere, then you have a by the way. But I have a checklist. And when we are going to buy a car, we actually look at that checklist and we start ticking off things, okay? We tick off things. And if a car doesn't check out on one area, okay, then we say, how much will this cost us to fix it? And then whatever price they are saying, we compare it with what we thought we should buy. And then we compare we look at how much we're going to use to fix those areas. And then we decide how much we are willing to put in that car. And if it doesn't make mathematical sense, we don't buy that car. But I don't do it for free. If you want me to help you select a car, I charge, okay? I charge. I do it at a fee. So that's why I was telling you, if you're going to buy a car, make sure that you get someone to help you check, and make sure you pay them for their service. Because if you don't pay them, the people that sell cars to you people, they are willing to give even 1 million to the person that brings the buyer and says, you buy it. Okay, so you have to pay the person that you take to check the car for you. So me, I don't do it for free. But I was saying, Caroline, you can buy an Espacio new model at almost the same price as the old model. So if you want to buy the Espacio, don't get discouraged. And I wouldn't recommend that you buy Espacio old model if you can probably raise money to buy a new model, or wait a few months and raise the money to buy a new model. Why am I saying that? Because the old model has the normal engines, the ordinary engines, and the new model has a VVTi engine. Now the VVTi engines were made. The VVTi engines. Just a minute. The VVTi engines were made. They call it variable valve timing. Now, if you don't know what the valve does in a car, the valves are found in the cylinder head. Okay? Now, these valves, the valves are what are those, they are small, how can I say? They are tiny things. They are tiny. They are almost like nails. They are shaped like this. Now, they are in the cylinder head. And, okay, they are this way. Now, the cylinder head borders them. When they open, when they go down, the cylinder head opens and fuel is thrown onto the piston. When they close, they go back, the cylinder head is blocked. Okay? Now, remember the pistons go like this. Now, when the pistons come up, they are burning fuel. They go down, fuel is poured there. You get what I'm saying? So the valves, like I said, there's a video where I said that if your cylinder head is fixed, or let's say the engine is fixed, they take out the cylinder head, they go reface it, and now they retime the valves to make sure that the valves open at the right moment and they open the right way. They don't over open, because if they over open, a lot of fuel gets out. If they open very little fuel gets open, and if that happens, the car doesn't have energy. Okay, so now the old model engines, what happens is that it's manually timed by the mechanic. Okay, but the new VVTi engines, what I call the variable valve timing, they're electronic. Okay, that's the simplest way I can try to explain it to you. They're electronic, which means that they are programmed by electronics, by the computer and all. So if a car was meant to consume fuel in a certain way, it will continue to consume fuel that way if you service it properly. Now, the other thing that happens is that the VVTi engines, I don't recommend anyone to try and open or repair the VVTi engines, because all the times that I've seen mechanics try to repair them, it didn't end well. The person actually ended up buying a new engine, which is what they should have done in the beginning. And they're not really expensive. You know, when they tell you that buying a new engine is about 2 to 3 million, you would want to think that that's very expensive. But you bought a car at 10 million and you have driven it for 2 years or 3 years, and the engine broke down. So now you have to buy an engine and you think it's expensive. It's not. Buy the engine and put it there. Now, Caroline, buy a Espacio new model because you can afford it. The fact that you can afford an old model Espacio, buy a new model. Okay? If you don't know how to find the Espacio new model, trust me, I can help you. But always, if you can add 1 to 2 million and buy a new model version of a car, it's always better to buy a new model. Why? You see, now we are in a fuel crisis, and trust me, prices might not go down. You remember when fuel was 2,500, and then it went to 3,000, and then 3,500, and then there's a time it went to 4. I think it, no, first, when I bought my first car, we bought fuel at 1,800 a liter. Yeah, that was in 2010. I bought my first car from my auntie. So the fuel was around 1,800, 2,000. And then it shot to 2,000, I think 600. And people kept saying it is going to go down. It never went down. It has kept going up. and up, and now we are buying fuel at 6,600. Yesterday I bought fuel at 6,620. It's not going to go down. So when you're buying a car, don't just buy a car simply because of what you can afford right now. You need to think about how much you're going to be saving in terms of fuel. Okay? And there is a car I recommend people to buy. I basically recommend people to buy hybrid cars right now, if you can. You see, a hybrid car is simply as the name suggests. The hybrid has been improved too much. So hybrids have batteries under their seats or somewhere. Just know they have batteries somewhere. And when the engine runs, it charges the batteries. And when the batteries are fully charged, the engine switches off. So you're driving on battery power. It's almost like an electronic car, but it's not fully electronic. It's hybrid. So hybrids save fuel. A liter can take you to up to 35 kilometers. There are hybrids that could actually take you for more than 80 kilometers on battery. Okay, now you want to actually buy a hybrid when you can afford it. I'm not in the city, so someone has asked me to talk about Mark II Musota. I drove it for like a year, and trust me, the Mark II is one of the best Toyotas anyone can ever drive. The only downside to the Toyota Mark II is that it has one problem, and it has to do with getting stuck when it rains. Because it's a rear wheel drive and at the back it's very light, it has troubles. I had a lot of trouble with it if I went to places and it had rained, so I had a lot of trouble there. But other than that, the Mark II never breaks down. You can drive it for 100 years. If you service it properly, it will never break down. So the Mark II, buy. And also it's fairly cheap to buy. Yeah, the Mark II is not very expensive. Not only the Musota, even the Grand, they are basically the same car. The only thing that changes is the body and the interior, but almost everything else is the same. You can buy the Mark II Musota. I'm driving home, that's why it's shaking. Like I said, I drive not with a very good maram, but because I'm driving a manual car, I can actually save fuel by turning off the engine and going downhill in neutral. That's something that you cannot do if you're driving an automatic. And then yes, the maram roads also have that downside that your phone can fall down anytime. Yeah, but other than that, the manual cars have a lot of advantages, but also they're extinct, so I wouldn't recommend that you buy a manual car now. I'm also having my last manual car. I'm not going to sell it, it's going to stay home, but it's going to be my last manual car. Yeah, but it has a lot of advantages, apart from the fact that the mechanics now, very few mechanics can actually, you should only buy the BMW. Like, I want to drive like the way I'm going to buy. So you see how I'm going to buy a Mercedes-Benz, no matter what they say. I'm sure you've all heard of the song, no matter what they tell us, no matter what they say, no matter what they tell you, da 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 da. Let me just lock this up. Yeah. So there are cars that you should only buy if you really are up to all the challenges. Now, if for someone like me that wants to buy a Mercedes-Benz sometime, when I decide to buy it, I'll buy it no matter what. And I'll buy it as a second car, because if it breaks down and I can't afford it to fix it, then I'll have a second option. The BMW, whichever BMW it is, there is a reason why you don't see many of them on the road. And if they were not, and if they were not on the, if people didn't buy them, the bonds will not bring them. People buy BMWs every day, but majority of the people that buy BMWs have a second car. So if they have an everyday drive car, and they have the BMW that they drive to functions, weddings, you're going there, because maintaining it as expensive as maintaining 5 Toyota cars. Okay, so BMW only buy it for luxury. I'm going to do a BMW review one of these days. I'll get one of those BMWs and actually review it, and probably put it apart if I have to. I'll also do a Benz review one of these days. I've done a lot of Toyotas. Yeah. The Musota, please buy. What this other question? Nissan Fuga. Now, and above. If a car normally is 2000 cc and above, those cars are made to be strong. Yeah, I'm back. Any car that is 2000 cc and above really breaks down. You cannot rev it and break it. That's why cars like the Nissan Fuga, the Mark II, the Brevis, Crown, the Mercedes-Benz actually really breaks down as well. This, my love, the C200. So the Nissan Fuga is a good car. Not very good if you're the kind of person that wants to not spend a lot of fuel when you're going places, because I think they are 2.5 cc. The engines are 2.5, which is like fuel guzzling, right? So it's important that you remember that as you plan to buy the Nissan Fuga. Just know it's very expensive to maintain if it breaks down as well, because Nissan is like Mitsubishi. The spares are not as common as those of Toyota, and it's not just a thing to do that traders don't want to buy the spares and bring them to us. It's just that the cars are not as many as the Toyotas, and if the cars are not as many as the Toyotas, it means that the spares will also be few. So if you're going to buy the Nissan Fuga, buy it. It's a very comfortable car, by the way. It's prestigious because it's huge, especially for men. You're going to be driving that car. You'll be driving. If I were driving a Nissan Fuga right now, my God, I'll be feeling like, oh, I'm manly. So, like I said, the only reason you should buy any car other than the Toyota should be because you actually want to feel like I'm driving this kind of car. That's the only reason I recommend anyone to buy anything other than Toyota. But if you're the kind of person that wants to buy a car that will give you peace, Toyotas are your one go-to. I'll give you an example. He has some rentals. He has a car. What's the first thing they think of selling? It's the car. Now, if you have a car like a Nissan Fuga, you can walk to a place where they buy these cars very fast, and everyone will be looking at you like, hey, Otunda, you're selling. The problem is in this Nissan. Those Mazedas. You get it? So that's the biggest reason why I never actually drive cars that are not Toyotas. My Toyota would be bought in a day if I was selling fast. But they're driving a Mercedes-Benz, and if they buy it, they'll buy it at a price you can't even believe. Someone was asking in the comments in one of my videos that where do you people get Mercedes-Benzes of 5 to 7 million? There are so many. If I wanted to buy a Mercedes-Benz and I have 5 million in my pocket right now, I would actually chase like 10 Mercedes-Benzes before I get to my good one, and it will be good, trust me. The only problem with Mercedes-Benz, especially the automatic ones, is if not very well maintained with the right things, the automatic gearboxes break down so many times. So you want to be very careful with it. Let me see if you have another question before I start concluding. Yeah, Airtel Internet did something to me. It put me offline for some time, and Raum new model, it depends if you want to buy it new or old, between 20 and 25 million in the bond, but you can get it as low as even 10 to 12 million in the market, depending on the condition it is in and the number plate it is in. It has. So about buying. So if you want to buy one from the bond, 20 to 25 million for a Toyota Raum new model. And for 20 to 25 million, you can still get a Fielder. Fielder is much better in terms of resale value, the way it looks, the strength. Yeah, because the Fielder has 1.5 and 1.8 versions. You can buy 1.5 cc. 20 to 25 million, you can still get a Toyota IST. 20 to 25 million, you can still get a Wish. 20 to 25 million, you can get a Spacio. Now, there are so many things that people look at when they're selling you cars in the bond, like the mileage. If a car has a high mileage, it's definitely be cheaper than one that has a low mileage. If a car has sport rims in the bond, it will sell for higher than one that doesn't. Raum 7-seater. Those are not very common, but I wouldn't recommend for you to buy a Raum 7-seater. The Raum 7-seater is just like the Sienta. Now, I didn't just tell you that the Sienta breaks down quicker because it's a 7-seater and it has a small engine. Now, if you're going to buy a Raum 7-seater, you're better off buying a Wish, because you may end up buying a new engine. It's not so long away from now if you buy it today. The Wish, though, it will outlive the Raum, yet they sit the same number of people. Okay, and the spares, if you're going to repair, the spares are almost the same price. Okay, because you'll find that there are even things that they share. So if you want to buy a 7-seater car, which is current, I recommend that you buy a Wish. I don't recommend you buy any of those small cars that has 1.5 cc engines. No. If you want to buy a 7-seater car, buy a car that has a 1.8 cc engine and above. Okay, it's just if you're going to be carrying 7 people most of the time. If you're not going to be carrying 7 people most of the time, don't buy a 7-seater. Okay, buy a 5-seater, or better still, you can buy a 7-seater, but just know the engine in a Raum is not good for 7 people. Okay, so you'd still as I was driving to where I'm parked right now, I passed by, we were the Sienta was going in the opposite direction, and there are potholes near there, and he had to wait for me to go so that he finds a clearer spot. He had 7 people in there. Now you're going to be repairing the exhaust pipe most of the times, because it will most of the times crawl, because it's a small body, smaller suspension, smaller tires, yet it allows you to carry more people, and chances are high that you're going to wear out your engine very fast, because you're going to be giving it a bigger load than what the engine is meant to carry, and you don't want that. Okay, so I want us to get this clear. If you want to buy a 7-seater or 8-seater or more, buy a car that has a 1.8 cc engine and above. Okay, it's very important for you to remember. Don't go and buy a Toyota Raum because it has 7 seats and think you're going to be carrying 7 people around all the time and the car will remain the same. It won't. It's like you getting a 10-year-old kid and telling him to bring you 100 jerrycans of water. Okay, or you getting a bicycle and thinking you will do work in the same time frame as a motorcycle. It has never been the same. Okay, so it's important for you to remember. Yeah, the 7-seater Martha. Don't. If you want a 7-seater, by the way, people fear the Wish. The Wish is very good on the fuel. I think the next car I'm going to buy is going to be a Wish, if I don't buy my Prius the way I want. When I went off, when internet took me off, I was talking about the hybrids. The hybrids are very good. They're expensive, but all the money that you spend in buying a hybrid, you save it up in a year. For example, you can buy... No, Martha, I did not say the Wish is expensive. I said you can buy, if you're buying from the bond, buying a Wish and buying the Raum are almost the same thing. Okay, repairing a Wish and the Raum are almost the same thing. So the only difference is that the Wish is a 1.8 cc, so it consumes a little more fuel than the Raum. But if you buy a Raum 7-seater thinking that, well, you still save fuel, you will not, because the 1.5 cc engine only saves you fuel under certain circumstances. It will not save you fuel if you overload it. Okay, but the Wish, the fuel consumption is standard, okay, because it was made for that. So if you're the kind of person that's going to be carrying around 7 people most of the time, I'd recommend that you buy the Wish. But you can buy the Raum still and limit the number of times that you overload it, okay? So the hybrid. Now, if you're in the market for a car and you have been saving up your money and you have about 35 million, don't go for a Subaru. No. Don't go for a Wish. Don't go for a Mitsubishi unless it's a hybrid. Now, the hybrid I'm very, very conversant with is the Toyota. I just talked about it now. Why am I forgetting the name? And I really want to buy this car. Anyway, let me just talk about the hybrid. If the name comes, it will come. So they buy a hybrid car because hybrids have batteries under their seats or in the boot or somewhere. They have batteries, and the engine mostly does the job of charging these batteries. Now, when the batteries are full, the engine is switched off. Okay, yes, the Prius. Thank you, Moses. I was talking about the Prius. Now, I'm in love with the Mercedes Benz, but I'm also in love with the Prius. The Prius doesn't have a very good shape. It's not sexy. It's not really that beautiful. But the Prius is the car if you want to save fuel, because a liter of fuel in the Prius can take you up to 35 kilometers or even more, depending on the year and the condition. Now, for me who drives 80 kilometers, do you know what it means? It means that I'll be driving to Kampala and back to my place for using only 2 liters. That's about 13,000 shillings. Now, in my Corolla today, I use 25, sometimes 30, depending on the traffic. Okay? Now, I know my neighbors who use about 60,000 because they drive bigger cars, okay? The people that drive cars that are 2.0 cc or 2.5, my God. Now imagine a guy that drives Kaunda is probably consuming about 70,000 a day driving from my place, my area and back. The Prius is a very good car. Now, Moses, you asked something here. Moses asked, the Sienta. The Sienta is a very nice car. Very nice car. Just maintain it properly. Don't overload it. And take your time. Don't just go and service the transmission or the gearbox. The gearbox has been known as a problem. I know someone who bought a Sienta from the bond, and in that very week, he went to service it at a Shell, changed the gearbox oil, the transmission oil, and the next week, the Sienta had broken down. The gears were not changing, they weren't shifting. So I have an auntie that drives the Sienta and she's happy with it. Of course, she doesn't drive it every day still, so we can't know. So for you to know that a car is really good, you have to look at how many cars do you see on the road every day. That's how you know that a car is nice. Okay, that's how you know that a car is long lasting. That's why Spacios are very expensive, Primos are very expensive, because they're an everyday drive car. Raum, people drive them every day, okay? But also Raum is, I don't know if I'm traveling on the wrong roads, but I don't see the Raum quite as often as I used to. So it means people are shifting away from the Raums and going for other cars. I think even the resale value for the Raum is not that high, okay, compared to the Spacio, which is its counterpart. So I'll be careful while buying a Raum. It can probably be the same price as a Spacio, so, and you can buy a Spacio. So if you enjoy the information I gave you, kindly share my channel with your friends, share my videos with your friends, leave me a comment, leave me a like, okay? You can tell your friends I'll be broadcasting live at 5 p.m. and if I don't talk about something that you really want me to talk about, I'll be talking about it the next day. Okay, someone actually asked me how to check how they can know when to service the car. Okay, and tomorrow in the morning I'll be uploading a video on Toyota Wish. Tomorrow in the morning I'll upload a video on Toyota Wish. I reviewed a Toyota Wish by a lady that belongs to a lady who is my friend. She's the first owner in Uganda. It's a UBH, I think, and she has beaten it around. She has crushed border guys, pavements, and all. You know how a first time driver can be. Although I did not take pictures of her scratches, yeah, so her privacy is safe. But she enjoys the car. I loved sitting in the car. It's auto manual. Yeah, there are wishes that are auto. You can drive it auto or manual. Just like the Fielder that I uploaded the other day. So tomorrow, don't forget, I'll be uploading a video on the Wish. You can come and see it and share it with your friends. Please share the link of this channel with your friends. Tell them to subscribe. Tell them to watch videos. And if they have questions, I can answer those questions live here, or I can upload a video where I'm actually reviewing. When I uploaded the video on the Super Custom, because the Super Custom was popular before the newer came, and so when I uploaded the video on the Super Custom, about 3 people asked me to talk about the newer. I'm going to upload a video on the newer next week. Yeah. I'll also tell you why the Toyota Voxer is not the car for you to buy. Yeah. The Voxer has some problems that make it very hard for the normal owner to own it. The Toyota Voxer, it's not like the Toyota Noah. That's why the Toyota Noah is much more popular than the Voxer. They are the same shape, they take the same number of people, they have the same power, but the Toyota Voxer is problematic. Now, I'll also upload a video on that very, very soon. So, I think it's my time to go, unless there's someone that has a question. I've made an hour, and let me see if there is a question I haven't answered. No. Yeah, you're welcome, Martha. Thank you for watching. Yeah, the Wish is not expensive to maintain. Martha, I want you to know that the only problem that the Wish owners complain about is the bumpers. Okay, because the Wish is low, and you know how roads can be. Even the humps are very huge. We have very deep potholes. So the biggest problem the Wish owners have seen is like the bumper can go off anytime. But there's a solution to that. If you buy a Wish, you can go and get a guard. A guard, let's call it a guard. They put it under the bumper to protect it, so that in case you hit a pothole, the bumper is actually safer. So, but that's the biggest problem Wish owners have. That's why there are a lot of Wishes on the road, because the Wish is very easy to maintain. It rarely really breaks down. It's 7-seater for people that have big families. For business people, it's a very good car. And the fuel, it's a fair consumer. Right now, it seems like cars are very expensive only because the fuel prices have shot up, and we were not ready. You know, when fuel goes up by 100%, because we were buying it 3,300 just last year, and in a year, it is double the price. Now, the problem is that fuel is just too expensive, but maintaining cars has not changed. If you find that buying a brake cylinder for your Wish is 200,000, that's what it has always been. Okay, if there is a 20,000 that has increased, it's because of the fuel prices. Because even the person that is transporting that cylinder from let's say Nairobi to Kampala to the shop is charging more, because the fuel prices are higher. Okay, so the Wish, I highly recommend that you buy a Wish, but I highly recommend that you only buy Toyotas. Now, I'm not a mechanic, no. So I'm not going to tell you to buy mechanics because I specialize in fixing Toyotas. No, I'm not. Yes, I know how to fix stuff, but I don't own a garage, okay? So it's not like you're going to bring your car to fix in my garage. I can recommend places where you can take your car and they will not steal from you, or they'll not cheat you, but I'm not a mechanic. But I recommend you to buy Toyotas out of my experience. Now, someone asked me, what authority do you have? I started driving when I was 20 years. That's in 2010, okay? And since then, I've driven more than 20 cars. I think about 23. Some years I drive more than 2 cars a year. So I have a lot of experience, especially driving used cars, old cars, like we call them. Yeah, so I have a lot of experience driving old cars. The cars that you guys might want to buy now, I've probably driven one of them. I've driven a BMW before. The experience wasn't very pretty. I've driven a Golf. The experience was not so pretty. I've driven a Benz. My God, I loved the Benz. Oh, the transmission was dead though. So, I'm in love with Benz. I look at a Benz and my heart skips a beat. But I'm driving a Toyota because Toyota is the car for you to drive. Trust me. And I have nothing against any other car brand. A Kia, you can drive it if it's brand new. By the way, I'm going to tell you about the Toyota Starlet. Have you ever heard of a Toyota Starlet? I will be telling you about the Toyota Starlet as well tomorrow. The new one, the 2021 Toyota Starlet. It's something to fall in love with, Toyota Starlet. The new one. It's about 70 million from Toyota Uganda. Now, it's an overstretch talking 70 million right now. I can't even buy one for myself, but if I had 70 million, I'd buy that thing. But I have to go, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. If you have any question, I'll be live here on my YouTube channel again at 5 p.m. Yeah, so if you have a question, you can post it in the comments of this video. I'll find it and I'll answer it tomorrow. So I wish you a very good Saturday evening. I also wish you a very good weekend. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. Don't drive too fast. Why? Because it saves fuel and it saves your life. Check and make sure that you have the right pressure in the tires. Okay, and tomorrow in the morning, if you're going to go to church in the car, make sure that you have enough oil. Get the dipstick, you know the oil levels. Make sure if you're driving automatics that there is enough hydraulic, and make sure you have enough brake fluid. Okay, make sure the radiator is very lubricated, it has water, even the coolant tank. Okay, make sure your car is good for the road before you drive anywhere, and make sure kids are not in the back or in front or under the car, because if they are there before you set off, you may end up killing your own child or your neighbor's child. Please be very vigilant as you drive. Just know that everyone on the road is stupid apart from you, so don't shout with anyone. Border guys are reckless. I think sometimes they are stupid, and I've been asking myself, why are they on the road when they're that reckless? You know, sometimes a border guy can go in front of you and you think, did they make an appointment with me that at this moment they'll be going in front of me for me to brake? God. Anyway, let's keep safe and see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Ciao.